the Dailies on Echo Television International. Time check is 9 a.m. and we'll be looking at various stories that are trending from the Nigerian newspaper. I am Sele Elisha Dashman. I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tansy. Good morning.
Morning, Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube. Please do well to follow us live there by dropping your comments or any of the contribution that is of interest to you. And then do remember that later on we will open the phone line. So please do pay attention and then let us hear what you have to say concerning the stories that are dropping on the paper. And I'll be going right away with the first newspaper. The big story is on the issue of the CBN probe. CBN probe Tinubu special investigator locates 8 trillion naira looted funds in a private bank account. Preliminary report indicts acting CBN governor Shoibi Emifere and others as Asoro Kabal blocks Obaze from submitting report to Tinubu. Moves to secure tenure extension for the acting CBN governor. Report reveals that Shorubi, as architect of controversial currency redesign policy, mastermind of naira scarcity. Anti-corruption group urges Tinubu to implement special investigators report suspending the acting CBN governor. You can do well to find more detail of the story in the paper. Fresh crisis looms in Ondo as Akere Dodu sacks deputy governor's aide, and you can find more detail inside the paper. Nigerians know there is no magic solution to their problems. This is coming from Tinubu's spokesman. Labour Party shocked by tribunal sacking of lawmakers. And we also have over 25% of tested men in Nigeria are biological fathers. This is coming from a DNA report. So you can do well to find more detail of what that means. How Slay Rivers DPO played into cultists' hands. This is coming from the police commissioner. Why we recorded 3 boat accidents in 1 week, coming from the Adamawa government. You can do well to find why they did that and why they are recording that. And on the issue of insecurity, we will use vigilance group in community policing. This is coming from Arasa. Gunshot as the NURTW fraction clash in Abuja. FCT police decline comment. Force headquarters mom. Nigeria's singer Mohbad dies at 27. 10 things to know about the late musician. For those who do not know, you can do well to find more of that story. Anger Zimbabwe president appoints son and nephew as ministers. Well, you can find more detail of that, Richard. I just don't want to see the comments about that. These are some of the things, you know, we see African leaders doing, and then it gives birth to the things we see, like the like of the coup we're having in Gabon and also in Niger. And I think it is important. I remember when we were looking at the sit-tight leaders and some of the things that need to be done, especially in some of the African countries where the leaders have been leading for very quite, years. We're having like that of Cameroon that has been leading for like about 43 years or so. And this is a man that is more likely like a vegetable because he is very down and then he can't really do much. But then when we begin to see leaders of that kind, you know, then you know that quite a lot needs to be done. So I do not know why he has to appoint his family to be leading such a place. But I think that leadership is not about your family, it's about taking everybody along. But if you feel that his child or his nephew or his son is capable of that, then we should see where the son will not just be interested in his family, but will be interested in the country as a whole. So we look forward to seeing more of such stories, and then we hope that we'll not see things repeating itself over and over again.
I mean, Sele, we're seeing anger. It means that the people of Zimbabwe don't agree with it, and it doesn't sit well with them. Because I believe that if the son, for example, was in the position, maybe have achieved a high position in this ministry, and therefore is fit for this position due to the period of work and time spent, experience, and all of that, there wouldn't be anger. Because Sele, if my father should become the president and I've been heading a ministry even before he became the president, and I am fit for that position, then I don't think there would be anger, because my my past track records have shown
It's
that
actually speaking
yes,
for you.
exactly, that I deserve this position. But since we're seeing anger coming from Zimbabwe, then it means that there might have been many other competent people that were supposed to have been given this key position, but we are seeing it now becoming a family affairs. So we are truly not looking forward to that in Africa, because I keep saying it, this is where we do not do democracy appropriately, and then when it fails us, then it begins to look like democracy is not working, and then you wonder, those who are succeeding with it, how is it working for them? So it's all about doing the right thing. Let's wake up one day to having a real set and group of selfless leaders, not only in Nigeria but all across Africa, that are truly willing to take Africa to the next level and not just be selfish but selfless in a lot of ways. And we will see the evidence there, because there will be growth, there will be prosperity, and some of these problems will not even arise in the first place.
So maybe we want to start practicing monarchy as a nation.
It feels that way.
Maybe that is what
Yes.
will actually suit us well. And that is all on the First News newspaper.
On New Telegraph, first half 2023, Nigerians spent 733.92 billion naira on used vehicles import. Preference for accident units increases. UBA records growth in revenue key metrics as PBT hits 404 billion naira. This is still in the first half of 2023. You can find more details on page 25. Kalu restrains Senate seat, defeats PDP Labour Party at tribunal. U.S. House of Reps to open Biden's impeachment inquiry. You can find more details on page 5 and 7. Akeredolu sacks deputy governors 8. You can find more details of that story on page 29. Some tribunal judgments contravene established jeopardize like the judiciary as it is. This is a statement coming from the Labour Party, and you can find more details of that statement on page 5 and 7. The big story on New Telegraph, stay at home has ended in Southeast. A statement coming from COAS says Boko Haram activities, other terrorists have been curtailed, 200 churches shut down, 23 pastors killed by bandits in Kaduna in 4 years. This is a statement coming from Khan. Kidnappers intercept 2 Benue buses, abduct 10. Army floats Special Forces units. More details can be found on page 203 and 30. Most NAS members ignorant of their party's manifestos. A statement coming from PDP inaugurate research institution. 10,000 missing, 2,000 dead as dam burst in Libya. This is on the flooding, and you can find more details on page 4. The writer says, I was shocked by what I saw. And on Morocco quake, frantic search for survivors continues as death toll nears 3,000. Federal government inaugurates first cargo movement on Lagos-Ibadan rail corridor. You can find more details on page 8. We have 60,000 passport backlog cleared within 4 days, coming from the federal government. Still on New Telegraph, influential people behind illegal mining in Nigeria. A statement coming from a senator says security challenge around it due to humongous proceeds daring mining on exclusive lease, but federal government not serious about it. At the downside of the paper, we have a study that says adequate sleep can help fight of diseases. You can find more details of that story on page 7, and that's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
And on Nigerian News Direct, how 7.5% VAT on diesel can disrupt the supply of petrol nationwide, coming from NATO. They are warning. You can do well to find more detail of that on page 21. UBA declares dividend of 50 kobo per share, record 404 billion naira BPT. Gross earning hits 981.78 billion naira. More detail can be found on page 14. Coming from the NNPCR, Nigeria records 148 cases of crude oil theft in 8 days. You can find more detail, and this is really sad, as we're seeing OPEC are saying Nigeria is the second highest in Africa, and if we keep recording such cases, then we will likely drop. So we hope something will be done about that. You can find more detail on page 3. The First Lady gives hope to 500 families in Plateau State with 500 million naira, which she gave to the governor in the presence of other monarchs that were present while she gave that money. We hope that that will be used to actually liberate a lot of families from poverty and also those who have been affected by insecurity. NIS clear 60,000 passport backlog in 4 days. This is coming from the minister. We remember they were given a number of days that they should do that, and they have done about 60,000. This is really kudos. We hope they'll finish the rest. And we have equity market suffers 294 billion naira loss. You can find that also on page 2. Apapa Ibadan cargo train commences daily operations. We detailed on page 13. And also we have a picture story. You can do well to grab the paper and see more detail of any of the story that is of interest to you.
On Nigerian Tribune, UBA records significant growth in revenue, profit, and key metric with 404 billion naira profit before tax. We have CVL honors yet another feather in Awolowo Dosunmo's cap. More details can be found on page 3. NIS cleared 60,000 backlog of passport in 4 days. A statement coming from the minister. Akeredolu sacks Deputy Media Aid. Sit at home has ended in Southeast. A statement coming from the COAS. More details can be found on page 11. The big story on the paper, Lagos-Ibadan cargo rail begins operation. Federal government inaugurates first container freight service to start with 90 trips in 1 month. Gunshots at NURTW faction clash in Abuja. Nigeria's oil output increased to 1.18 million barrels per day in August. Statement coming from OPEC. Flood claims over 5,000 in Libya. U.S. House of Reps may move to formally begin Biden's impeachment. You can find more details on page 28. Still on the paper, Labour Party cries out over losses at tribunal. Give Nigeria federal constitution, Adebanjo Adekunale tells Tinubu. You can find more details. That story on page 8, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On Daily Independent, RSA backs integration of vigilantes into the national security. Once their straight honors in addressing the rising insecurity, you can find more of the story inside the paper. Reps Hall exercise to seal parts of Adamawa to Cameroon. You can do well to read that on the front page and continue inside the paper. On just judgment, reversing our feet in 2023 poll, Labour Party lament marks the breakaway group over the purported Imo Supreme Court judgment. You can find more of the story inside the paper. Tinubu orders investigation into the boat mishap in Niger and also in Adamawa State. Akeredolu fight Deputy Governor sacks Media Aid. You can find that on page 7 as well. Flooding in Libya leaves 2,000 people feared dead, thousands missing. You can find that also on page 7. UBA record growth in revenue with the BBT of 404 billion naira. Also, we have the House Speaker, Kelvin McCarthy, launches Biden impeachment inquiry. You can find that on page 29. And on life insurance, Tinubu direct backlog payment to deceased soldiers' family. Lagbaja says Army will upscale operation against criminals. You can find more inside the paper. Sheitima says Tinubu committed to boosting health, financing, and industrialization. You can find on page 29. The picture story is where we can see the governor of Plateau State moved one together with the First Lady when she came over to see situation of things and also give the money of the 500 million naira. And that is all on the Daily Independent newspaper.
On Blueprint, Zenith Access UBA lead at 13 banks spent 7.2 billion naira on CFR. Sporadic gunshot at NURTW faction clash in Abuja. The big story, amid assurance of UN support to 2.2 million IDPs, Tinubu's wife doled out 500 million naira to displaced Plateau families, preaches peace, tolerance among communities, resettling displaced persons, long-term enterprise. Statement coming from Envoy. UN's vision for IDPs excites NEDC. More details can be found on page 6. And at the downside of the paper, MPS aid to the National Assembly amend constitution over FCT, make presidential election ambiguous. You can find more details on page 8. UBA records significant growth in revenue profit with 404 billion naira. This is before tax. You can find more details on page 6. And that's all the news on Blueprint newspaper.
On the leadership, we have U.S. Congress begins impeachment inquiry against Biden. You can find that story on page 6. Halt ceding of Adamawa land to Cameroon now, reps tell the federal government. You can find on page 7. And trending, we have the NURTW fraction in bloody clash in Abuja. Banks of industry total asset hit 3.3 trillion naira. You can find more of all the stories on page 2 of the leadership newspaper. UBA grows per tax profit by 371% to 404 billion naira in the first half of 2023. Also, we have Tinubu orders probe of both mishaps in Niger and Adamawa. You can find that also on page 12. We have UNNEDC to resettle 2.2 million IDPs. More detail of that story can be found on page 61. 5,000 feared dead after Libya flood, with more on page 7. Wike probes $600 million crashing order against the FCTA. You can find more on page 6. And we have the picture story here showing us accidents seen in a bridge in Lagos yesterday. You can do well to see what happened and grab the paper more. The big story for the leadership say as schools resume. Parents, guardians groan over the fee increase amid the rising inflation. With the rider fears heightened over possible rise in dropout and out-of-school children. Why we are increasing fees? This is coming from school operators. Private school teachers lament low wages and delayed salaries. And I think this is worthy of discussion, Rachel, because you and I have been talking about yesterday we saw an increase in funding for education of about 25%. And here we're seeing parents, I mean, today is not the first time we're seeing it. They have expressed fear, over the summer break of the fact that schools will soon be resuming, fees will be increased with the inflation rate. Of course, we're not surprised. For borders, that will even be more because the feeding cost is going to even be more higher. So, of course, parents have the right to express fear when you see things that are happening, the inflation rate that is going on, the removal of the fuel subsidy that have affected things, and then, of course, the cost of running a lot of things right now is very, very high, and then parents have the right. But we hope that when you increase the fees, teachers are complaining, and that has been the concern even before the removal or before the inflation gets to where it is right now. The fact that there's always delayed of salary, and there's always when I talk about low wages, they don't pay more. So you see a school where, let's say a primary school for instance, where a ward may be paying almost 60,000 or more fees, and then if there's going to be maybe a convention or something, they are meant to pay another maybe 50 or even up to 100,000 naira. But then we see that the teachers have nothing to go home with. So you see them with wages even below than 30,000, some 30,000. So it's really a sad story like this. But we hope that when schools are increasing the school fees, also consider the teachers, because their welfare needs to be prioritized so they can teach these words properly. So we hope to see that schools will take this seriously. I'm hoping to see the Commissioner of Education calling like every state teachers, the principals of the school, on how they need to run the schools properly. If it means getting the proprietors and proprietors of the school, let them have a meeting so they can be able to look into way forward for how schools can be run better.
So like very, very few schools in Nigeria pay teachers well. That is a statistic that is out there, and you don't have to be a teacher. You just need to have a word in school, or if you've been a teacher, you know. And then it's quite unfortunate that the majority employer of labor teaching is the private schools, and we know how the private sector function on its own is, you know what, is more of profit, and therefore we have teachers who are majorly employed by these private schools, and the school fees keeps going high. The tuition fee is very outrageous because they have standard of teachings. However, the people that are with the responsibility of upholding this standard of teachings don't see close to anything compared to what these students pay when it comes to school. And that's why I keep saying it's not only about increasing the school fees, because you feel yes, the cost of running schools will go high, but I want to believe that this is also going to reflect on how much you are paying your teachers, because it is very important. Because the same way the other parents that are coming and seeing this increase, the same way these teachers are also having their children in schools, and they will also be seeing this increase, and it's expected of them to also keep up. So if the chain of how things are in Nigeria, then it is not something for people to deliberate whether or not teachers are what, if they are in your school, whether or not they should have a review of their salary. It is expected. So I'm just hoping that these schools will do the needful and also make an increase too, because this is not, we kept on talking about this palliative and who the labor is fighting for. In the end, we are having more of civil workers under the federal government benefiting from this. We are not having those on the private sector, and whether we like it or not, majority of teachers are in private school. So how do we make sure that we create a system that they are also getting the benefits of whatever is happening in the community or in Nigeria entirely, is by making sure that the schools see through that, you know what, the welfare of our teachers is also important. So we just hope that proprietors out there are not just sitting down thinking of how to run their schools only based on other service fees, but also what they give to their teachers.
Maybe we'll start having external auditors visiting this private school to
It's
audit
supposed to
the
be
account,
like that, Sarah.
and then so that we see that what you're actually
Of course.
benefiting, and also the welfare of the teachers is being prioritized
Of course.
eventually. Well, that is all on the leadership newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, despite serial challenges, Nigerians believe in democracy, oppose authoritarianism. You can find more details on page 3. Nigeria to clear goods from Cotonou port, statement coming from the custom. Tinubu's other probe of 901 die in 61 boat accidents. The big story on the paper: post-subsidy talks, Labour threatens indefinite strike, gives 1 week ultimatum. Giving a bag of rice to 12 people, 100 million naira to each lawmaker, insulting. A statement coming from Labour. Government has absconded from negotiation table, fails to meet workers' demands, says NLC and Seller. If the Labour keeps giving 1 week, before you know it, when we sum up this 1 week, we'll be counting months and months, and before you know it, is 1 week adding up to a whole year of ultimatum to the government. So I'm just looking at, first we had 8 weeks when the palliative started to roll out. Then after the 8 weeks allowed, we saw another 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, within a period of 1 week, they went for a 2-day strike, which they're back now. And so we're looking at already 12 weeks of ultimatum after ultimatum. Now this is 3 months, and we are yet to see this palliative out. So I'm just really hoping that the Labour wakes up and really takes a decision that will make the government listen, because this ultimatum haven't worked so far, and we need something working, because before things start stabilizing in the economy, things need to also be put in place to reduce the hardship, and that's all what people are depending on Labour for. And so far they are yet to deliver. Nobody is delivering. Federal government is yet to deliver, Labour is yet to deliver. So the masses are just left at the mercy of the government and the Labour, and nothing is being done. So we just hope that this ultimatum thing stop, and real action that will make the government listing takes place really soon.
Richard, my problem or my concern is the fact that I'm only seeing NLC, and I'm yet to hear what TUCs can say about it. Initially, they were together in all of this.
They were, yes.
They started this fight, the increase of minimum wage for, I think the last money they were asking was for 200,000 minimum wage, comparing with the way things are presently. And you and I sat down to calculate, okay, even if it's going to be the 200,000, which we highly doubt that is going to even be visible because of the way things are, and then the government is telling us we need to cut down the cost of governance, a lot of MDAs have been merged together, and we're seeing where lawmakers are being given certain allocations or certain money to actually take care of themselves, sitting allowance, various allowances ranging from one way to another. But then eventually we're seeing that it seems TUC and NLC are no longer in this together, because when they went for that 2 days warning strike, the TUC were not with them. In fact, we saw where some banks were not really with them, others were with them. We saw where the aviations were trying to pull her away, and this was something that the Labour were hoping that it would send a warning, making the federal government know that we are dead serious about you coming out to do the right thing. And you know, they took the liberty to say a bag of rice to 12 people. And then how many measures are in a bag, for instance? It's not even up to 40 measures.
It's
in
not
a bag
up
of
to
rice,
40 measures.
So if you're talking about 12 people sharing a bag of rice, I even doubt 12 people, because to me it looks like 12 families eventually. Because we've seen that they're going to send how many trucks of grain to a state, and then we're even seeing the money that is being sent will not even go around, and then not every state have gotten that. So as it is present right now, just like you said, they keep giving the federal government room and room and room and room, and Nigerians honestly are actually very patient, and I have to give it to them, and I'm not pushing them to go to do anything. But we hope the federal government will not take the silence of the masses to be stupidity, because they know what they are doing. We hope that the government is actually taking its time to do the right thing. Yes, they have tried their best at the federal level, but I'm hoping to hear what are states doing in their own capacity. I mean, what are you doing to actually liberate your people from what is happening presently? Are you folding your arms and waiting for the federal government? Don't you have anything to do for the state? Because eventually they are going to even pay this loan. Already we're in September, by December we're hoping to hear that loans are being paid. So what are you doing? So quite a lot of conversation if you're going to look at this whole back and forth that Labour is having. But I hope that the TUC will come together, let them have one point, one agenda together, that we are driving home this point, and we hope that what we are asking for, the federal government will take it seriously. Because believe you me, if you are not being affected by all of this, you will not know how the people are feeling. But if you tell the people you know how they are feeling, then the people hope to see in what you do, some of the policies you set, that it should also benefit them eventually. Then we will know that truly the people are at the heart of all of this that is happening. So our fingers are crossed. Let us see what this 1 week ultimatum being given to the federal government will do, whether they will do the right thing, and then or we'll have to see another relapse again of the way things are moving as it is presently.
Still on the Punch newspaper, one dies as truck crashes on Lagos Bridge. UBA grows half-year gross earning to 982 billion naira. Car washer steals customer's vehicle 3 days after employment. Libya flood, Morocco earthquake, death tolls hit 6,000. You can find more details on page 19. And then we have a picture story showing the truck that crashed on Lagos Bridge. And that's all the news on the Punch newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, federal government target inflation cut with 50% FAAC savings. You can find more of that story on page 11. Cargoes for evacuation to decongest the Lagos port. You can find that on page 11 also. Still on the Nation newspaper, flood storm kills over 5,000 in Libya town. And we also have trade between Nigeria and EU grows to 45 billion euros. You can find that also inside the paper. Otetola hails Tinubu for resolving the UAE visa ban with flight suspension. Well, I'm happy that, you know, the president, I mean, a lot of people are really applauding the president for doing something that the former president could not do. And then even when we saw when the former president went to pay his tribute to the to Dubai, when they had lost a loved one, we saw where Buhari was over there, but then there was no push to see that, you know, we'll have the visa ban being lifted. But the president, Tinubu, has actually done that, and a lot of Nigerians are giving him kudos. But beyond that, we're yet to hear what Dubai is going to say about us, whether they have lifted the ban, because yesterday we saw that Emirates is quiet about when it's going to start it, so that shows that it seems it's one-sided. But we hope that all of this will be resolved, and we hope that the reason why we're banned will not go back to doing the same thing again. Every country have the way they run things, so we hope we'll stick to, because Dubai happens to be one of those places when you talk about tourism, when you talk about going there for business trips and all of that. Nigerians have made that place. So we hope that we'll stick to it. I hope to see stronger, bond between Nigeria and the UAE. We hope to see, because I'm happy to see that there are a lot of conversation beyond the visa ban, a lot of, talking about the climate change and all of that. Quite a lot of conversation going on there, and I'm happy about it. And I hope this will give birth to more relationships, stronger economic development, and then a lot of things will turn out for Nigeria to be good.
What we have on the papers as of yesterday is more of the outcome of a parley gist between two presidents. And how the conversation could be. And of course, the president is promising, we're going to lift your ban and all of that. But then I think the necessary things that's coming from the Emirates, the flight, airlines, and then the government itself signing or making that official statement and all of that is what is yet to take place. And then we are waiting for that to happen. Of course, if the president says, I am going to do this to you, and we shake hands over it, is most likely going to take place and happen. However, even the ban has not been a complete ban, because we have families that are living in in Dubai, and then we've had them come into the country, and some families have also been allowed to go back in and out. Maybe for those who have residency already, I believe the restriction was clearly for those who are in the process of seeking new and trying to go, not those who have already resided in the Arab Emirate. But yes, of course, it is going to boost a lot of things. It's going to help, because a lot of businesses have suffered, most especially when it comes to the travel agencies and all of that. And other people that have, you will see them talking about how their clientele in Nigeria has gone down due to the travel ban. So above all, of course, it is a good thing, because aside from the tourists, there is a lot of trade going on between us and them. So this is going to, of course, restore back what was lost, and eventually everybody will smile at the end of the day.
True, Rachel. We're still on the Nation newspaper. We have crisis rock on Do Esco over Akeredolu and deputy's field, where we have the governor fires the deputy governor's aide, and then also we have commissioner and SH train. You can find more of the story inside the paper. UBA posts 404 billion naira half-year profit, more inside the paper. First Lady donates 500 million naira to 500 families in Plateau State. More can be found inside the paper. Also, we have Wike move to sanitize Abuja land administration. You want to know more about that? Do well to flip to page 4 of the Nation newspaper and read more detail of any of the story that is of interest to you. But before we move to further with other paper analysis, we'd love to take a break, and then we open the phone lines and hear what your thoughts are concerning any of the story that is of interest to you. Please stay tuned with us. Thanks for staying tuned. It's still the Dailies, the Network Television International. We'll be looking at quite a number of stories on the paper. The little misunderstanding in those days where we've seen that the governor, Akeredolu, has actually sacked the media aide to the deputy governor. And then quite a number of stories on the paper where we see that cargoes are meant to be cleared in Lagos State, and then there's a fraction happening with the NURTW in Abuja. So quite a lot of stories on the paper. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are concerning any of the story. I still have Rachel with me in the studio. Thanks so much, Rachel.
You're welcome, Seven.
All right, our phone number is displayed on your screen at this moment. Feel free to call us concerning any story that is of interest to you. But please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us. Be very civil with your language and try to summarize your point in a minute so that other callers will also have the room to call in and also air their views. So we continue with the paper analysis, and we'll be taking a look at the voice of liberty.
On the Voice of Liberty, Fashola breaks silence following exclusion from Tinubu's cabinet. And again, we have hoodlums hijack federal government palliative in Kwara, and we have had fears of this happening again. And it's not surprising, Sele, because why are we delaying with the palliatives? Because whether we like it or not, there are some states that have already received this palliative. There are states that people are aware that certain aids and certain funds have come in. So why are you delaying the rollout of this? And we kept on saying it that we are not asking anybody to do that, and we are not praying. But it's almost like everything that happens in Nigeria is a ripple effect. If it hits one place, it's just a matter of time. It's in another place again. And then we're having it now in Kwara State. I just hope that the government of Kwara know what to do. But then in the end, when such things happen, it's still few that get to benefit from it. Something that if 100 people are supposed to benefit from it, if 20 people are the one looting this palliative, it means 20 people. So either way, it's not a win-win for anybody in any way. It's not, because the majority that are supposed to benefit from this don't get to benefit from it. So it's a loss for the government, it's a loss for every other person, and just the few individuals that have been able to make way with these things. And above all, we have facilities being destroyed and all of that. So I just hope that for every state government, if you know you already have any palliative in your possession, just give it out. I believe you have your statistics, you have your numbers, you know the people you plan on giving. Do your job diligently. Know that I have given 100 people in this community. When the remaining come, now we are facing the 100 people in that community. When the remaining comes, we are facing the 100 in that community, and then we make way. But by the time you keep this and few people get access to it and destroy facility, then there's no win-win for anybody in when it comes to hoodlums looting palliative. It's not a win-win situation for anybody whatsoever. So I just pray that the state governments do the necessary things so that we won't see more of this on the papers anymore.
Richard, I'm not happy because it's happening in Kwara State. This is one of the states that have tried its best for its citizens from this removal of the fuel subsidy, providing car. We even saw where they were telling workers to go to work just three times.
Yes.
Personally, maybe I'm taking it a little bit personal. I feel bad because this is one of the states that have tried its best for its citizens. So I wonder why some hoodlums would take advantage and actually go and do away with, just like you rightly say, goods or food that is meant to go to every other person. So I hope those who are behind it will be brought to book, honestly.
We hope so.
Because we're tired of having certain people spoiling the name of a certain state or a government when the government is trying its best. We are aware that when palliative are being given, the government should do the right thing to give it out. Exactly. But as citizens, you also have your duty to your state to do the right thing and be law-abiding. So we hope that those who are behind it will be brought to book eventually.
Still on the paper, kidnappers ambush 2 Lagos-bound buses in Kogi and abduct 10 passengers. The big story on Voice of Liberty, Tinubu to return 10.5 million out-of-school children to school. A statement coming from the minister says federal government to grant autonomy to universities. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mama, has revealed that the federal government intends to increase funding for the education sector by 25%. Sit at home has ended in Southeast. The army is assuring Nigerians. Nigerians know there's no magic solution to their problems. Of course, we know there is no magic. We are just looking forward to seeing consistency and a deliberate steps towards growth and development. Multi-billion-dollar FX fraud. Olam Nigerian pays 1 billion naira bail bond to secure release of director. And at the downside of the paper, presidency opens up on UAE lifting bans on Nigerians during meeting with Tinubu. And that's all the news on Voice of Liberty.
On the Vanguard newspaper, CBN order banks to save gains from the forex revaluation. You can find that on page 19. Also, Nigeria bond goods can now be cleared in Cotonou. This is coming from the federal government and Benin's representative. You can find more of that on page 8. UAE visa ban lifting will transform stock exchange. This is coming from Otitola. You can find that on page 27. Adopters of Akwa Ibom NYSC members demand fresh 200 million naira after receipt of 30 million naira. This is really a sad one. We hope that the security agency are really working tirelessly to rescue this core member that are still in the dent of these kidnappers. The big story on the Vanguard, we have in 2023 budget in danger as crude output crashes by 470,000 barrels per day. Now we have the writer saying produces 1.2 million barrels per day in August against the budget benchmark of 1.69 million barrels per day. This is coming from OPEC. Federal government should tackle oil theft, diversify economy, coming from expert. We have IOCs and others face sabotage and theft, coming from Shell. Shortfall very worrisome, coming also inside the paper. We have shortfall will put pressure on government to borrow, coming from Adura, and then it will worsen liquidity challenge in forex market. And we have OPS concern coming from NECA, and government must tackle oil theft again. This is coming from Pengasan. You can find that on page 5. UN partners Borno NEDC to resettle 2.2 million IDPs in the northeast. More can be found on page 13. And on boundary dispute reps to cede Adamawa territory to Cameroon. You can find more of that on page 27. Tinubu orders immediate payment of deceased soldiers' life insurance. You can find more of that on page 9. I'm happy the president is taking them into cognizance. We've seen over the years where once they're retired or once a soldier is dead or something, his family are being forgotten. And when you see their families, you wonder, is this not the family of a hero who put his life or her life in danger just to rescue Nigeria? And then we see they're not taking care of. So I'm happy that the president have ordered immediate payment of their insurance. It's important because they insured their life for Nigeria. So it's important that their fatherland that they serve should actually do the favor back by actually taking care of their loved ones that they have left behind. So kudos to the president for this very swift and nice move coming from him. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, we have World Bank raises concern over Nigeria's microeconomic management. You want to know what that means? Do well to find more on page 20. Federal government to governors focus on agricultural value change to tackle poverty. More can be found on page 8. Coming from Afe Babalola, he's talking about restructure or refigure 3. You can find more of that. And also we have a column for sport. You can do well to find more stories inside the paper, and that's all of Vanguard newspaper.
On Daily Sun, Benue government confirms abduction of 10 passengers in bus hijack. Fear grips governors as tribunals shake lawmakers. Labour Party reps sacked in Lagos and Enugu. Kalu, Ofiono, Abanks, APC wins as party loses seat in Delta. PDP's Ugu wins in Enugu. Judgment against our lawmakers on just mockery of the judiciary, statement coming from Labour Party. You can find more details on page 6 and 11. Bill Gates Foundation report says new innovations to save 2 million mothers and babies by 2030. PDP commits to deepening democracy, decries leaders' low capacity. You can find more details on page 57. UBA records 404 billion naira PBT in the first half of 2023 and a significant growth in revenue and profit key metrics. like Obaseki Akeredolu sacks deputy governors and media, deputy governors media aides. You can find more details on page 7. Transporters seek removal of 7.5% VAT on diesel over operation cost. Still on Daily Sun, Nigeria needs 159 additional aircraft by 2042. Statement coming from Airbus. You can find more details on page 2. U.S. House moves to impeach President Biden. The details can be found on page 7. We have a picture story showing the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, with his Minister of State, Maria Bunkuri, in the middle, and Permanent Secretary Adesola Olusade during the inauguration of resurfacing and rehabilitations of roads in Abuja. And that's all the news on Daily Sun newspaper.
Alright, on the Nigerian Standard, student protests over the school fees hike. You can find more detail of the story inside the paper. We have Germany Chancellor to visit Nigeria. You can do well to find that on page 2. Foundation trained journalists on climate change reportage. You can find that on page 10. We have AIEC UNICEF Foundation trained Sagala school malams. You can find that on page 10. Malaria death rate dropped by 55%. This is coming from the World Health Organization. They said this on Monday. You can do well to find more. They said it has dropped from 55% between the year 2000 and 2021. So for health workers and also those who want to know how that has impacted the health sector, you can do well to read more on the front page and on page 2. Nigerians know there is no magic solution to their problems, still coming from Tinubu spokesman. You can find more of what he said inside the paper. Federal government to increase funding for education by 25%. More can be found in the paper. Lalong wins as tribunal sacked the Plateau PDP senator. More of the story can be found inside the paper, and that is all on the Nigerian Standard newspaper.
On this day newspaper, Otedola hails Tinubu for successfully resolving UAE visa ban on Nigerians and flight resumption. Says Asiwaju is working. Nigeria will work. Advises Nigerians to be patient with president. You can find more details of his statement on page 11. Tinubu Akpabio Deloitte Mondoing of Accounting Akintola Williams. Tribunal rulings against our lawmakers unjust, coming from the Labour Party. First half 2023, Afrexim Bank's total asset grows to $30 billion. UBA rolls back in 404 billion naira PPT. You can find more details on page 11. The big story: stock market suffers 757 billion naira loss over FTSE downgrade. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 11. And we have a picture story showing stronger global collaboration on their minds, where we can see Kunjo Wela. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
On the Daily Times newspaper, we have the UAE and federal government agreement. Nigerians flag carriers should be allowed to land in Dubai, coming from the aviation stakeholders. You can start reading on the front page and continue inside the paper. Corruption with Rock Delta Election Petition Tribunal. The writer says it's a lie, says Tribunal Secretary. You can find more of what that happened on the front page and continue on page 2. Reps hold demarcation exercise to cede Adamawa territory to Cameroon. More can be found in the paper. NIS clears about 60,000 backlog of passport in 4 days. We have Niger earmarks 1 trillion naira for infrastructure. You can find more of that on page 4. Niger earmarks 1 trillion naira for infrastructure. Wike blows lead of FCTA officials. Convenience in $700 million. Garnishing others. More can be found in the paper. And we have the First Lady hands 500 million naira to Plateau IDPs. More of the story can be found on page 5. We have a picture story where we can see one of the distressed building marking for demolition by the Lagos State Building Control Agency on the Lagos Island in Mushi axis of the state. You can do well to read more of the story inside the paper, and that's all on the Daily Times newspaper.
On Sweet Crude reports the big story: petrol scarcity looms as landing cost hits 800 naira per litre. We have truckers tackle TTP over management of e-call up system. You can find more details inside the paper. At the top of the paper, we have oil workers in Shell, Total Energies, ExxonMobil, Chevron threaten showdown over NAOC sale. You can find more details of this story on page 2. Government approves increased prices for prepaid electricity meters. And I remember the concerning the big story said quickly, I remember the president clearly promising Nigerians that the fuel pump price won't go above what it is currently, and now we're seeing that the landing cost now hits 800 liter. This is what marketers are getting it at, and then how much will they be giving it at the pump level? And then we will just wait and see, because the president assured us that fuel pump price wouldn't go high, as it will remain where it is. We saw that on the papers, and now we are seeing that they are saying what they are getting at the landing cost is up to 800 naira per liter. So we are just waiting, because I think it's important to draw attention to what the marketers are saying and what the president have assured Nigerians, and we will see if this will affect subsequently how much we get fuel at pump prices, and what the president said, if there would be able to be like what would we call it, like a sustenance in the fuel pump price, as he have said.
Well, our fingers are crossed with that house, because
you
know, people have been saying maybe it would still date, even though we're not paying subsidy, but they still have to subsidize the price for Nigerians to buy it at that level, even though we saw they have been complaining about the price, and even the oil term, and all of that is just affecting the market price of things. But we hope that things will actually come out and be better, actually. Well, Richard, I think that's how far we can go on the program this morning. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you to our viewers, our supporters. Thank you to the crew members, our producer, the general manager, and also to everybody that make this program a success. Until we come here again tomorrow, please do remember to have a better day ahead.